When challenges were shown off in Sizzle Season, I didn't think too much of it, but immediately after in those next few hours, I realized just how huge these are for the game, just how inventive they could be and how much they could add. Fast forward about 2 months later, and challenges is the biggest disappointment Splatoon has ever had in like 8 years. Today, I finally want to talk about it and how it's made me realize the big problem with Splatoon 3's updates, which I'll get to at the end of the video. So subscribe if you enjoy, and let's get started. Let me start by going over something seemingly unrelated. Weapon kits. Say you get a weapon kit you're interested in when it comes out. You try it out on a few different places, and eventually you've gotten all your mileage out of it, and now it's something that's old content, no longer new content. Most of the update cycle focuses on adding more new content to the game, which is great, but the backlog of old content continues to add up. In Splatoon 2, one of the first few updates to the game added a new mode called Clamblitz, which isn't just a new mode, but it breathes new life into a lot of old content. Stages have some new layout changes that might make them more fun, and you get to see how different main weapons, sub-weapons, or special weapons interact with things like the objective. For example, Brush is getting an all-new playstyle around trying to get clams across the map or threatening to flank and push, which is really fun for them. It didn't just add something new, but it gave you a new perspective to try old existing things. That breathes a lot of new life into the game. That great change is outdone by one Splatoon 3 challenge. High jump mode brings more changes to weapons, stages, subs, and specials than Clamblitz ever could, and is infinitely more appealing. This is coming from the Clamblitz fan. And that is just one challenge. We know of at least 10 of them, and there's probably going to be more in the future, with the possibilities being near endless. There are so many different ways to reimagine how to play the game that could make using so much of the content this game is packed with new, exciting, and interesting. That is why challenges are so amazing for the game, and why I quickly got so excited for them. So let's talk about why they aren't actually doing that. First is the most obvious part, the restrictive times. Currently, each challenge has 3 separate 2-hour rotations that you're allowed to play in it, and these challenges are not back-to-back by any means. June has a total of 720 hours, and there were challenges available for a total of 30 hours in the month, or 4.2%. That is pathetic. Even if they were going to be restricted for some reason, it's completely insane just how little of the month has these events active, to the point where they're a real rarity. If they're gonna do it like that, then the challenges better all be bangers. So why don't we take a look back at every challenge that happened in June and see what quality they were. Alright, the first challenge we ever got. This gotta be the best one to get people hooked on this new mode. It is the 2 new maps on Turf War with subs off. And your goal is to climb the leaderboard. There are no unique mechanics. What? So is this for new players to enjoy the new maps on the most basic mode, or is this for people to grind out a high power? Also, why couldn't this have just been, I don't know, a Turf War rotation? I mean, the subs would have been off, but I don't think that matters that much. Okay, so let's rank that as one of the weaker challenges. After that, we had too many Trizookas. I think we can all agree this challenge was pretty fun. You got to have a ridiculous quantity of the special. It created very unique gameplay, and while it did suck that you were only locked to the weapons that had Trizooka, not every weapon getting Zuka, I think it was definitely still a good challenge. After that is the Sheldon Sampler Challenge, which is basically just everyone getting random weapons. I also found this one really fun. I think we can easily classify this as a good challenge. Everyone playing something completely random is something we have not really seen before. After that, it's Splat Zones on Scorch Gorge and Yeltel Alley, and your challenge is to get a high power. Oh god, we're doing this again. Okay, to be fair, this one makes a little bit more sense. This is a replacement for something the devs used to do in Splatoon 2, where they'd set aside 1 2-hour league rotation, and the highest placing teams on the leaderboard would get some custom team pictures done and posted on Splatoon JP, and they do it with Splatoon NA for Splatoon 3. Well, that's cool and all. When that challenge happened, it was just 1 rotation out of league, which never was offline, so it didn't really feel that bad. Why not just have this rotation repeat 3 times in Anarchy Open if you must keep the time slots and just use Open, which already ranks you, and just have the leaderboard feature be public rather than just showing your own team placement? That feels really simple to do, and like it would be better, but alright. The final challenge of the month is Foggy Notion, where Fog takes up the stage. Obviously a very unique gimmick, something we've only seen in Salmon Run, and it was cool to experience it in multiplayer. So that's 3 out of 5 challenges I would consider good, and the reason the other 2 are bad to me is because they're just not new experiences. That's what challenges needed to be, and even if you enjoy grinding a leaderboard out, that's just not a unique experience for the majority of the player base. And so for the general public who don't care about those, we can subtract 12 off of of our 30 hours, leaving us with a total of 18. And our window to do challenges has dropped from 4.2% to 2.5% of the month. You can really see how the problems of lackluster challenges that aren't that appealing for your new mode combined with low times make the problem exponentially worse. And on top of this, remember these 3 2-hour windows are being spread out to try to accommodate for every time zone in the world, so there's definitely going to be some of these you can't realistically make, unless you want to play at like 5 a.m. or during work or school or something.
Oh boy, 3 a.m.
In reality, this 2.5% is probably even lower, and at this point, I think we can start to see that it's near impossible to actually reliably play in the few good challenges they even have. The even crazier part is this time stuff should have been learned from Splatoon 2 when Salmon Run was time restricted and it benefited no one, but we've made the same mistake. This already shows some issues that I have with Splatoon 3's content. The devs seem so afraid to make things extreme or unique or cool in any way, and it just kinda sucks that it's like this. We're being so safe with some of the challenges added when the ones people are most excited for, like Too Many Trizukas or High Jump Battle, are inherently the craziest ones. The game is literally themed around chaos, and you have challenges that barely deviate from the normal gameplay. But I want to dive deeper into this and ask you guys a question. Why are challenges like this? Why would the devs put a new mode in the game that people like so much and have it be this limited? Because this has to be an intentional decision. Let me know in the comments, because I'm really curious what you guys think, but I have my own theory. I think this game really tries to use the fear of missing out way too much. Let's think about some of the things in Splatoon 3 that are limited time events. We have Splatfest, and then recently we've added Big Run in this game, which is kind of like Salmon Run version of Splatfest. Then after that, we got Extra Work. Now this being somewhat limited makes sense. I mean, you do have to set up the scenario. I can imagine it'd take up some time, but this is basically as rare as Big Runs are. Is a map with a certain scenario code really as rare as playing on a multiplayer stage with an invasion, possible nuking salmon, and all this other stuff? I don't think so. But they got away with Extra Work. People didn't really complain too much about just how rare it is, at least not yet. Then they did challenges, and I think in this case, it was just too obvious. I've seen complaints about challenges from the moment they announced that it would be limited time to today rather consistently from all corners of the community. It might be one of the few topics that pretty much everyone is agreeing was messed up on. I've seen so many players, even competitive players like Kyo and myself, have the opinion that this just didn't really add a new, unique, fun experience that we wanted. Some people might say, oh come on, it's not that bad. I mean, these challenges happen like once a week or so. That's way more often than the stuff like Big Run, right? No, because challenges isn't just one thing you have to miss out on. It's like 10 separate challenges. If you like Too Many Trizukas, for example, well then you better be paying attention to when this is gonna pop up, because you're only gonna see it once every 2 months or so. Hell, the high jump mode that most people were looking forward to hasn't even happened and won't until hopefully sometime next month at the soonest. And it's not like they can't have these challenges be sooner. In fact, an already announced challenge is going to be 3 of the same challenges that we've had before, repeating one after the other, which is insane because this literally shows that they could have these challenges more often. Like, these are still only 6 hours, but 6 hours out of an entire day for every single day for those 3 days is 1/4 of the day, or 25% of the month. A drastic increase from the 4.2% we have right now. So it's not like the devs can't do this. They are intentionally keeping it like this. I'm not an expert in keeping the player base around. Maybe in some weird statistic thing, it is actually better to keep your audience around, to have these events that you can barely even play in. The only part I can see is from the consumer side of things, and as a player who has this game to have fun, barely being able to play in events that I have to be super careful to find times to do sucks. And honestly, I think this time they went too far. The player base really caught on with this one, and I think we really need to keep making it clear that these limited times are not okay. It might be annoying to see comments like that all the time, but this is a major problem, especially for a mode that, like I mentioned earlier, could be so huge for the game. Imagine the other types of challenges we haven't even seen that could happen, like maybe infinite zip casters or inkjets, super fast swimming form, or who knows what else. There's so many different things they could do, but if they're not willing to really experiment with these challenges, and most importantly, make them available for the player base to have, then they're not gonna have an effect. The good news is, it's not too late to fix this. They could always update the schedule, or maybe after content's over, they could put it into private battles like they did with Shifty Stations. But for now, challenges are a limited time mess with some mediocre events, some things that could be present in other modes that happens way too rare for people to care about it. And that sucks. So let's hope it gets changed one day. Thanks for watching.